on a bitterly cold winter morning in the Croatian mountains, where jagged cliffs rise like frozen teeth and the air bites sharper than steel. 36-year-old Bruno Kovač laced his boots, tightened the straps on his pack, and stepped out from his small cabin, ignoring warnings of incoming snow as he set his sights on the peak of Crnopac, a mountain both feared and admired, a place where locals whispered that arrogance could be punished in blood and ice. Yet Bruno, proud, restless, and convinced that skill and stubbornness would shield him from danger, craved the challenge, the thrill of conquering nature, and with him padded north, his loyal Alaskan Malamute, a massive dog with a thick coat and intelligent eyes, the kind of animal bred to endure storms, pull sleds, and guard men against the wilderness. And together, they began the climb, each crunch of boots and paws echoing through the silent forest like a drumbeat of fate. The morning looked deceptively kind, the horizon painted pink and gold, frost glittering like scattered diamonds, and Bruno smiled at the beauty, convinced this would be another story of victory, another summit conquered, another photo to prove his courage. Yet the mountain was already shifting, already warning him in ways subtle and sharp. Clouds rolling in like smoke from a hidden fire, the wind slipping icy fingers into his jacket, birds vanishing as if they knew what he refused to admit. Still, he pressed on, brushing snow from his shoulders, north, bounding ahead but circling back, loyal, alert, refusing to let distance grow between them. As though the dog sensed what Bruno did not, that danger was already stalking them. And then, where the trail narrowed into a ledge carved by centuries of storms, disaster struck. Bruno's boot found not rock, but a sheet of hidden ice, and in one terrible instant, his body pitched forward, his arms flailed, and gravity took him, hurling him down a steep slope, his body crashing against boulders, scraping across frozen roots, until he came to a brutal stop in a gully, the breath ripped from his lungs, his left leg twisted at an angle no leg should bend. Pain searing like fire, his head spinning, his chest heaving, and when he tried to move, a scream tore out, echoing through the valley like a cry to the indifferent gods of the mountain. Panic struck first. No one knew exactly where he was. His phone flickered with no signal. Night was coming. But soon came a colder truth. His body was broken. His supplies were pitiful. And the mountain was already beginning to swallow him whole. Snowflakes drifted, delicate as feathers, but Bruno knew each one was a nail in his coffin. For as they piled, and as the temperature dropped, hypothermia would creep in, slow, merciless, unstoppable. He tried to drag himself, clawing at the snow, but agony blurred his vision. Dizziness wrapped around him, and despair whispered, "This is where it ends." Yet North refused to leave. The great dog whined, circled him, licked his face, barked into the emptiness, as though demanding the mountain release him. And when no answer came, North pressed his massive body against Bruno's shivering frame. Thick fur radiating heat, heartbeat steady like a drum, anchoring his human to life. Hours crawled like centuries, each colder than the last, each breath a war. Bruno drifting in and out of consciousness, haunted by visions of his wife's face, of dinners uneaten, of promises broken by his arrogance. But every time his eyelids drooped, every time icy hands reached closer, North pawed him, barked, nudged him back to life, refusing to let him slip away. Night fell, black and absolute, stars glaring like cruel eyes above. And in that 13-hour darkness, the bond between man and dog was tested beyond anything Bruno had ever imagined. The dog, lying across his chest and legs, shifting to block the wind, growling at shadows as if he could fight the cold itself. And Bruno, teeth chattering, whispered over and over, "Don't leave me, boy, don't leave me." And North stayed, a living shield, a silent guardian, the only barrier between his master and the abyss. By dawn, grey and weak, rescue teams fanned across the slopes, alerted when locals noticed Bruno's abandoned car. But the mountain was vast, the snow endless, and finding one broken man in a sea of white was like chasing a ghost. Until North, hearing faint voices, threw back his head and howled, a long, desperate cry that cut through the silence, guiding rescuers like a beacon. They followed the sound, fighting snow up to their knees, until they found him, Bruno, pale, lips blue, body trembling, clinging to life, and beside him North, tail weakly wagging, eyes fierce with pride, as if saying, "I kept him alive, now take him home." Rescuers wrapped Bruno in thermal blankets, strapped his shattered leg, lifted him onto a stretcher, and began the trek to the waiting helicopter, blades thundering above. But even then, the mountain tried to claim him, a sudden avalanche roaring down, snow crashing like a tidal wave, forcing rescuers to shield his body with theirs, until finally, through grit, loyalty, and sheer luck, they reached the aircraft and lifted him skyward, North barking, until they pulled him aboard too, unwilling to leave the dog who had refused to leave the man. In the hospital, doctors shook their heads in disbelief. With a leg shattered, no fire, no tent, no heavy gear, Bruno should have frozen before dawn. But North's body heat, his constant movement, his refusal to abandon his master, had kept circulation flowing, had fought off death itself, had written a miracle in the snow. Within hours, the story spread across Europe, headlines splashing, "Dog saves hiker's life," journalists clamoring for interviews, anchors calling North a hero, and Bruno, humbled and broken, told them through tears, "He isn't just my dog. He is my brother, my savior." But applause couldn't erase the deeper truth, the haunting memory of that long night, the whisper of the mountain, reminding him of his arrogance, the endless darkness where only loyalty kept him alive. North became a legend, strangers sending gifts, children drawing him as a hero, hikers whispering he was no ordinary dog, but a spirit of the mountain, a guardian in fur, appearing when most needed. And Bruno, though rational, could not shake the feeling they were right, that perhaps fate had bound them together in that gully for a reason. Recovery was long, his leg aching, nights haunted by dreams of snow and silence. But North was always there, pressing close when nightmares came, nudging him awake when shadows grew heavy, and slowly Bruno learned survival was not the end of his story. It was the beginning of a new one, a story of humility, of respect, of a man saved not by pride or strength, but by loyalty, by love, by the unbreakable bond of a dog who would not let him die. And now, when Bruno walks the mountains, he does so quietly, reverently, North at his side, no longer to conquer peaks, but to honor them, to listen to their silence, and to remember that in the darkest night, when hope was gone, it was not courage or skill that saved him, but the warmth of a friend who asked for nothing in return, but to stay. Because sometimes the greatest rescuer is not the one in a helicopter, but the one who refuses to leave your side when death itself comes knocking.